You're listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 159, Squares. And coming to you from the springtime suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John, the Easter Bunny Matola.
It's just because Easter is coming?
I mean, by the time this is out, it's probably going to be past, right?
Yeah, well in the rearview mirror. It will have been a couple weeks ago, a couple weeks ago it was Easter. How was your Easter, John?
How
do you think your Easter went?
I think it probably sucked. No. I think that, I don't know. I have no idea. Let's just say that COVID is like ripping through the state again, like a freaking bull in a china shop. So who even knows what's going to happen?
Yep.
I mean, it's not as severe, but I mean, it's causing a lot of people to be out at work and everybody all like, I don't want to get close to anybody. But, luckily, at least, unlike a couple of years ago, like not as many people are as afraid of serious complications. So that's good.
Yay.
But I hope that I had a good dinner and that I enjoyed my family's company and drank a lot of wine and
I'm hoping I had some lamb on a spit once again, and that's usually what I do every year on the open spit out in the backyard. Cooked a lamb leg, delicioso. All right, well, hey folks, it's been a big week, so if you're looking to support our show, if you receive value for the Deep Purple Podcast or from the Deep Purple Podcast, and you're like, hey, I want to give back some value to show my appreciation, you can do it a number of ways. One is by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, which earns you a little spin on the Flexitone, which I'll show our YouTube viewers, but I'm not going to play because it is only for 5-star reviews, or if we determine we want to do it for any other reason. See, John just used his cough switch and it worked. Hopefully it works on both channels this time.
Why? How did you know?
I looked up and I saw the unmistakable face of you belching. So it's worth mentioning. John listens back to the show and was like, oh, I was cracking up because I let out this big belch. He's like, he thought he had muted it with his switch. Apparently he had muted it, but he was accidentally recording the audio that he sends me on a different switch or a different channel, which did not mute it. So it went out to everybody with a giant belch in it.
The funniest part is the part you thought wasn't funny is like, well, that's not going to make any sense because I was totally oblivious. And I'm like, that's why I thought it was hilarious.
That's why I thought, because I'm just like talking about something. I don't even remember what episode it was, but I'm like, oh yeah, the history of this album. And I just keep going without, and John doesn't laugh. I don't laugh. There's no reaction by either of us. So it's just.
That's when I realized that something must have been wrong with the audio.
But it's good because it clued us in. That whole incident clued us into the fact that there was an audio problem, and now we've resolved the problem.
Whew. Good times. Good times.
So another way you can support us is by sending John some Gas X. Or you can
seriously, I think I have a medical problem here. Somebody help. Dr. Jill Breeze, help.
Yes, please. Just stop eating so much gaseous foods or cabbage or whatever. I don't know what you have for dinner. You can buy some merch at our Etsy store. We have shirts and mugs still available, and we might be adding some new stuff too. You never know. You can become a patron on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Help support the show. You can also do that via PayPal, and you can also donate to us on Cash App with $DP Pod, $DPPOD. If you want to be the first one to send us cash using Cash App, that will be exciting. And hey, speaking of Patreon, so it was something I'd been. So are you familiar with Discord, John? I know I sent you the info, but
What
have you
what
ever
is
used
it?
Discord? So it's an
No.
app like that basically is like it's an app you can use on your phone, or you can use it on the desktop or whatever. And basically it's a chat, it's like a chat function. You can chat with people, there's different channels, and you can just talk to me. It's kind of like a cross between a chat system and a message board and all that. So it's one of those things that it's built into a lot of Patreons, and I've been toying around with it for a while, saying, should I do it? One of our new patrons, John, said, hey, you should set it up as a reward for patrons. So I said, doesn't cost anything, why not? So I set it up, and then boom, it kind of exploded. And over the past few days, everyone's been really active on the Discord channel, so it's been cool. So it's basically it's for patrons only. If you become a patron and support the show, you can gain access to our patrons only Discord, which has quite a few people in there chatting about all things Deep Purple and other things. Even the Gardeau made a sighting, so
Hmm.
it's good if Peter's checking it out. So yeah, so check that out. It's on our Discord. If you are a patron and you have not received a invite, it's on the Patreon page, the link to it. And if that does not work for whatever reason, just shoot us an email and we'll send you a link to the Discord, and you can join in the discussion. So exciting things. And also, speaking of patrons, heyo,
Hey-oh.
we have a patron upgrade. John Kynes, who joined us last week, is already upgrading his patron account to the turn it up to $11 tier. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much for your generosity. We really appreciate that, John. So John writes in, he says, about what I should call him. He said, just John might work, since I play a Hammond C3, just not nearly as well as the real John. He spells his John the same way as Jonathan Douglas Lord likes to spell his name.
My best keyboardist.
Your best keyboardist. I can learn and parrot his playing, but I'd never create anything that good in a lifetime. It's just a hobby and a labor of love for me. Definitely not a talent. Cheers. Well, I'd say if you can parrot something John Lord's doing, then I definitely a talent at that point. But yes, thank you very much, John, for upgrading after one episode. That's always appreciated. So thanking our patrons at the executive level, we have at the $25 Uncommon Man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi. At the $21.12 Long Live Rock and Roll tier, Richard Fusey. At the £10 tier, Dr. Jill Brees. At the turn it up to $11 tier, Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Alan Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and Mikkel Steen. And of course, John Kynes, our newest upgrade. And at the $10 Someone Came tier, Ryan M., Jeff Bryce, Gerald Kelly, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans, and Kev Roberts and his wonderful children, Matthew, Gareth, and Sarah. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. Okay, so yeah, you can, if you're into what we're doing and you want kind of some similar stuff, there's a bunch of similar like-minded shows. Deep Dive Podcast Network.com, and on Twitter, Deep Dive Podnet. You can check out all sorts of podcasts about your favorite bands. Check them out. Lots of great stuff. Lots of great shows there. Okay, so this week we are talking about squares. What do you think about that? Why John looks so serious? Do I have
I'm
something
not
on my face?
serious. No, I was the opposite of serious. I was laughing.
You're goofing on me.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just thinking about how funny it was when you saw my microphone and you said, "Is that your passport taped to the back of your microphone?"
Yeah, I forgot. So yeah, we talked about that off camera, but yeah, I was like, has he taped up his passport to the back of his microphone? And the answer is yes. That is exactly what he has done. Where's the most recent stamp in there from?
Well, that's my old one.
Oh, okay.
Because it's got the
I guess you would
the things.
Yeah, it also has a hole punched in it with some twist ties wrapped around. So I guess you wouldn't have destroyed your current passport. There's probably a better way to.
No, where's my recent one?
Yeah, I don't think that's actually doing anything now. Now that we talked about it, but you know what? You can leave, leave the passport up for today. It
felt like it did like before, but oh my god, my latest passport photo is terrible.
Well, don't show your passport number or anything.
No, I won't. I can't tell where these stamps are from. Probably Italy.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Where's this one? Oh, January 4th, 2020, Bahamas. That's it. That was the
Oh,
last
that's
one.
right. Yeah, we
Hmm.
even came back with the Deep Purple related video for the show. That was an early episode.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was that was your last bit of travel before everything went to shit.
Hmm.
Um, all right. So yeah, so this week, squares. Do you have any familiarity with squares? I know we talked about it on an early episode because this album came
Yeah.
out, I don't know, a few months after we started doing the podcast, and we talked about it a little bit on the album. But are you familiar with it at all?
Nope. I
So
don't know anything.
so it grabbed my interest right away because it was it came out, like I said, right after we started doing the show. And so I listened to it like right away on Spotify because it was billed as being basically, this is unreleased Joe Satriani, his band in 1982 recorded all this stuff, and they'd never released anything until today. So I thought, wow, I got really into Joe Satriani when we were younger, right around the time we were kind of getting into Deep Purple and all that stuff. But I'd never really the idea of him playing as more of a band with like vocals and
Yeah.
that sort of stuff was really appealing to me. So I listened to it. I really, really dug it. And it's been on the back burner now for like quite a few years. And we really haven't touched on any Satriani yet, other than like peripherally. So I figured, why not start at the very beginning, even though it's one of his newer releases. It's some of his oldest music that's available, his oldest recorded
Right.
music.
Hmm.
So what you got on this album, you've got Andy Milton on bass and vocals. He was the lead vocalist. He had really hadn't done much else after this. He had done some work with Crowded House and the Aqua Velvets. On drums, you've got Jeff Campitelli. He went on to play drums for Joe on a number of his solo albums, including like Surfing with the Alien and the stuff that we probably got into.
Jeff Campitelli.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, hey, forget about this guy over here.
the union
Yeah.
job.
Exactly. Yeah, Jeff Campitelli. So yeah, he's got a pretty good, very Satriani heavy resume, or CV, as you Brits like to call it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And Joe Satriani's brother-in-law co-wrote a lot of the lyrics as well as managing the band. So Neil Sheehan is his name. He's got a bit of play on Discogs. He's been in music management and stuff like that. So so he's got a few little things. I guess it's mostly just this band, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this band. It's not a lot of not a lot more history beyond that. It was produced and mixed and recorded by John Cunaberti, who I might be pronouncing incorrectly. He produced some of the early Satriani stuff, including Not of This Earth and Surfing with the Alien. He also worked with Dead Kennedys, Tracy Chapman, PJ Harvey, Aaron Neville, and the Grateful Dead. So there you go. But yeah, so kicking it off as we get into the album, looking at the artwork here, it's kind of a if I can find it here, it's somewhere. Am I in the right thing? Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Oh, here it is. So here's the album cover. This is, share this with you. Sorry, I'm out of practice. I feel like we haven't recorded in like 3 weeks, even though it's been like only 1 week, this normal amount of time. So there's the album.
Is this amateur hour over here?
Yeah, apparently. This was
Look at this guy.
look at this guy over here. So this was this is the album cover, but like I said, this was interestingly what I kind of learned looking at this is this was considered to be just like a collection of demos and things, but as we get into it, to me it works pretty well as an album. And it's, I listen to a lot of stuff that way too, like collections of demos, and you just listen to them over and over again. To you, it just kind of blends in and becomes an album in your mind. But so this was kind of obviously thrown together, although I can imagine this being an album cover from the time, just like the way that they did a good job, I think, in capturing that early 80s look and feel to it.
Yeah, it's the first thing it's given me is like Duran Duran or something like that.
Yep.
If you want to stay in the Deep Purple family, like maybe like Hughes Thrall looking type of like guys.
Yep.
But like, yeah, you could easily put this like album up. Like if you had like a wall of like 80s new wave albums, this would just like blend right in. You'd be like, oh, who's that? Like
Yeah.
Culture Club.
And I haven't listened to it in a little bit, but like I said,
Yeah.
when it came out, I listened to it probably like a dozen times, and I just really dug it right away because, to me, it was very it's very melodic, and you've got this great kind of I don't know, listening to it, you wouldn't immediately pick this out as being Joe Satriani. You'd think like, well, this is some new wave band that I'd never really heard of, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so the album, the design was by Ryan Corey, who was obviously was done recently, and the photography by Hey Good Bros. I don't know what that means, but there you go.
All right.
And then what else you got here? You got that, and then you've got the back cover, which just lists the songs, and then a quote directly from Joe Satriani. I'm so very excited that my early 80s power pop trio Squares will finally have their much deserved international release. This release represents the best of the band's recordings, featuring Jeff Campitelli on drums, Andy Milton on bass and lead vocals, and yours truly playing guitar and doing a bit of singing too. Engineer and longtime collaborator John Cuniberti recorded, remixed, and remastered all the material for the stunning debut album, albeit 38 years late. Turn it up and enjoy. Joe Satriani. Hey, Joe Satriani.
I'm telling you, Jeff and John, this is definitely a union job.
Yeah, these are our people here, guys. These are our people. Really putting out some great Italian American new wave rock.
It is. Even that picture of Satriani, he looks like an Italian guy.
Yeah, he does. Well, he is an Italian guy. That's a good reason.
Well, he looks like it then. See?
That's true. Less like Dr. Evil. So there you go. And obviously just Joe Satriani is releasing things on the same label as Deep Purple, Air Music. So all that stuff kind of comes through the same channels. But it's really interesting. It's interesting about this band, kind of learning a little bit about them, and just the fact that this is something I had absolutely no idea even existed until it was released a few years back. Okay, well, before we get into some of those tracks, we've got to do one thing, and that is to thank our core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we've got Michael Vader. At the $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith, Anton Glaving, and Mike Catan. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, Kenny Wymore. At the $5.99 Nice Price tier, Fielding Fowler, Robert Smith, Peter from Illinois, and Michael Bagford. And at the $5 Moneylender tier, John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Alman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, James North, Mark Hodgetts, Will Porter, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, and Tim Southern Cross Johnson. Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. So he released a lot of kind of cool like mashup videos that use like photos from the time and stuff for some of these songs. So for any of those, I'll have links in the show notes if you want to go check them out, or you could just search them on YouTube. It'll come up just as easily. With that, you want to kick it off with the first track? He mimed a punch, which I'm going to assume means yes.
Yeah, I'll do the fist, because if I kicked my leg up, I'd knock the desk over, and that's
please don't. And he's got a brand new desk, folks, so you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's why anybody watching the video, I'm at a downward angle.
Yeah, I feel like I'm Eva Perón singing down to you.
Well, what did we say before?
John Mottola.
What did we say before? You don't shoot women and Mottola from a low angle.
That's right.
Only from the high angle. Exactly. Very flattering.
It's much more flattering. All right, here is the first track, the opening track of this collection. and it is called Give It Up.
I already like it.
Pretty rockin', classic kind of Joe Satriani feeling to it, but very poppy.
He almost kind of like punk, like Ramones type of vocals.
And it's just hearing this stuff with someone of the caliber of Joe Satriani playing it. It's just kind of you didn't have a lot of Satriani level players in the scene at that point.
You know, this is definitely like very just like 80s like power pop, almost like a little punk like.
Yep.
This is good stuff.
3-minute song.
And I don't know where Satriani was with his playing at the time, but it's obviously very early work.
Yeah, I mean, his solo albums would come out a couple of years after this. He released like a self-titled that wasn't really widely released, and then I think what was the one he did after that? I just referenced it earlier, didn't I? Not Flying in a Blue Dream, but Not of This Earth, I think was his first major one. Here we go. Very short for a Joe for someone of his caliber, but
yeah.
But I mean, I'm stuff in that.
Wondering if he was still developing his style around now. Like, I don't know how long he'd been playing at this point, but
I mean, I think for a while he was already, he had already had, Steve Vai as a student and Kirk Hammett and Skolnick, I think, was one of his students. So. And by this point, Vai had already played with Zappa, I think. So he I think he was really heavily into the teaching at this point, probably.
You could hear a little bit of him in the solo. I think it's because you said that it was Joe Satriani.
Yep.
That I was listening for, what his kind of style is, and you could hear it a little bit. Like I he didn't do like anything technique wise because it was such a short. It was like a 10-second solo.
Yeah,
but
if that.
but I could tell that there were like little bits in there that it's like, yeah, I can tell that was him, which was going to come out a lot more like later. So
yep. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. Quick whatchamacallit, a 3-minute solo, a 3-minute song rather. 3-minute solo would be more normal, but yeah, that's it. What would you rate Give It Up?
As usual, I'm struggling with the spreadsheet.
As he struggles with the spreadsheet, let's talk a little bit about Joe Satriani. So yes, he was working as a guitar instructor, and it looks like probably at this time he was doing, from the best I can see, was doing student work, and he started playing guitar at the age of 14, inspired by Jimi Hendrix. And like I said, he had students. He had Kirk Hammett would have been his student, as well as quite a few other people, including Alex Skolnick and Steve Vai, of course. So there you have it. All right, John, Give It Up.
I see what you did there. 3 3.5
All
for
right.
I'm giving it up. I'm giving up 3.5 for Mr. Satriani. I keep wanting to say bye, so I have to cut that out.
Yes.
Um,
Well, they're the same mold. They're related.
I know, right? But yeah, definitely a great early 80s pop song, which just goes to show already that I like stuff like this, because already it shows out of the gate very early on that these people that everybody are just maybe would consider like, oh, they're just shredders, or they're boring, or whatever, they have no soul. It's like he can actually like write and play in a song and do a restrained type of solo,
Yep.
be part of a band. So I think it's pretty cool. Good stuff.
Absolutely. I will agree and also give it a 3.5 for all those same reasons. I think it's a really, I think one of the things I really like about this album is it's largely very upbeat and just kind of fun. It's a lot of fun listening to it. And it's not super technical. And even Joe Satriani's like solo albums aren't like, he's not doing the crazy time signatures and do anything too crazy. But yeah, it's a lot of obviously like technical playing. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. And for our next song, I'm going to eat this cupcake that my daughter made me. It's got it's got fake eyeballs on it and sprinkles and 2 Hershey Kisses like for horns. And I don't think this is edible, this little flower. No, that's not edible. So
well, I'm jealous.
Yeah, she didn't make you a cupcake. Actually, you can make out the face a little bit better now if I.
But I also don't have a cupcake either. So, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
What was the occasion?
She went to a party for a friend of hers that's been like postponed from like since November. So her birthday party. So it was like kind of a late birthday party. So they went over and it looked like they were gonna have to cancel again, but they're like, nope, we're gonna make it happen.
Nice.
So yeah. So they did a make your own cupcake sort of station. I'm gonna get the studio all full of crumbs now. As we go into the second track on this collection. And that is a song called Everybody's Girl.
You're right. This is definitely upbeat.
Yep. Reminds me of kind of like early Joe Jackson, and then it's got that kind of feel to it. I mean, it would have been around the same time, which makes sense. That part right there just reminds me of Joe Jackson a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys really did a good job of like capturing what was going on in music at that time that was popular.
It's like it doesn't quite even kick in. It's almost a guitar solo. Doesn't quite go there.
Yeah, I love that.
And I guess, you know, at the time it wouldn't have probably struck anybody, but knowing what you know of Joe Satriani is, you know, when this is not what I would have expected from his early stuff, and it's great.
Mhm.
In and out. Yeah, they don't waste any time on these songs either. There's 3 minutes, in and out, done. Next.
Done. Boom. Next.
Boom. That's how we do it. All right. What do you think of Everybody's Girl?
Well, everybody's girl. They pass her around, you know. I got nothing else. I thought I was going to go somewhere with it, and I'm like, nah, it fell really flat,
Yeah,
really
just
fast.
awful.
Yeah, so I'll give it a 3. I thought it was very similar kind of energy and, you know, tempo to the first song. You know, I'm kind of getting the idea of where this collection of songs is going.
Yep.
The one thing that I really liked about it so far, which I can already sense maybe about this this album, is that, like, I mean, I don't know where Satriani's head was at the time, but I'm guessing it could have been really easy for him to go off and do all the guitar pyrotechnics, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And hearing that in retrospect, like you said, like knowing, you know, at the time, people not knowing, you know, this was Satriani or what he was going to do, this wouldn't be weird. But hearing him be restrained or playing for the song is kind of like, you're not used to it. You're used to him going off and doing these elaborate instrumentals, because that's what he became, you know, part of that, you know, or innovated part of that guitar players that did those instrumental guitar oriented albums in the 80s and then going forward. And it's cool to hear him be melodic and, you know, do kind of cool stuff like that. Like I was listening to him, like, I could play that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
thinking like, yeah, that's like, I could play it. And that's really cool. So
yeah, I at the beginning of the song, I'm not crazy about it, but then when it gets into that, like, "We're gonna believe you," and it goes into that kind of like Joe Jackson-y, what reminds me of Joe Jackson. Maybe it's just because I really like Joe Jackson, but it that part I really like. So I agree with you on the 3. I'm also going to give it a 3. And yeah, I mean, they, with having the musicianship in this band that they did, they could have gone like a Van Halen route. Van Halen would have been almost at the peak of their powers at this point, but they didn't. I don't think that's what they were going for, even though they had somebody in the band that could. They
right.
kind of chose this different direction, and I like it.
And I think that's what, you know, goes to prove, like, when you have guitar players like Eddie Van Halen or Satriani or Steve Vai, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few of them, but just since we're talking about these guys that do have a lot of that talent and can do all this crazy stuff that nobody ever heard of, but it's in such a soulful and accessible way that it's like, oh, they're not just like shredders. Like, I mean, you know, Yngwie is one of them. You know, not very, you know, not very accessible, not very memorable type of stuff. Not a lot of it, anyways. Vinnie Vincent's another one. Michelangelo Badio, another one. It's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Oh yeah,
So,
I mean, and the list of those folks goes on and on.
Right, but those are some that I've heard of, or that are
the unbelievable shredders, but can't really create a song or write a song that's gonna grab anybody or at least be more mainstream.
Right.
Okay, so the next we've heard about Everybody's Girl. The next girl we're going to talk about is B-Side Girl. B-Side Girl. Beatles-esque sort of harmonies there. I like they were like, those first 2 songs were a little too long. This one's going to be 2 minutes and 55 seconds. We're going to...
I could picture the credits going over the beginning of a sitcom with this song.
Yeah. I love that little guitar thing he puts in there. Right here. And that's kind of one, like in an Eddie Van Halen sort of way, creating interesting things with the rhythm guitar, other than just strumming chords, which I always really dig, and that's something that I think guitarists of this caliber don't get enough credit for.
I think another good thing about
song,
like, it sounds like, I don't know, maybe deceptively simple, but you know, little things like that make it more interesting. Plus the fact that somebody like Satriani, and I'm sure the other guys being such good musicians, is that they could compose like a better song, a better simplistic song than most people.
Yes. I was just about to talk how Beatles-esque it was, and then he comes up with a sitar, or sitar-sounding guitar, I should say.
Just when I said he wasn't doing anything too out there.
I don't know, maybe it was a sitar.
I feel like that's something that that Vi would do too, in later albums, which he probably, you know, got from Satriani.
Now, I know we've talked about this before, but when you hear something like this, there's so many examples in the Deep Purple extended family of things like that. Just like, why wasn't this a bigger deal? You know, you could have heard these songs on the radio just as much as any other crap they were throwing on the radio back then. I mean, like, there's some good stuff, some really good melodic stuff, but it's just like wrong place, wrong time, wrong people, wrong look, not enough marketing, wrong management. Who knows what it is? There's that certain, you know, I'm sure these guys could have been bigger than some of the other things if a few things had bounced more in their favor, but they just never happened.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it now, like I think a lot of this stuff, when you think, oh, why has nobody heard of this, is a combination of everything that you said, which I think that, you know, any band doing stuff like this is trying to make it, trying to get it heard, trying to get picked up, whatever. I think it's definitely like no interest from people at the time, or not enough support behind it, or whatever. I think, to me, that I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons. Like, if I had to make an educated guess on why a lot of these things were like, why wasn't that more popular?
Yep. So what do you think of B-Side Girl?
Aside from a kind of an odd title, like, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give that one a 4.
Oh, John giving the Beatles-esque song a 4. Wow.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I didn't say that I didn't like Beatles-esque stuff.
Esky doesn't mind.
Like, you know, if it evokes the Beatles, it just can't be the Beatles.
What if I told you I snuck that one in? It's actually a Paul McCartney solo song. No, just kidding.
Ah, you bastard. No, it's really great. I mean, even I know that it sounded very very Beatle-like, but yeah, it was enjoyable, and you picked out a few kind of little flourishes in there that were more interesting than, like you said, the standard just strumming or just going straight ahead, and that just shows what a you know, a great musician he was already.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll give this one a 4 too. I really dig it. I like the vocal harmonies. I like the arrangement. I love it's a nice fun little romp. Which brings us to our next track. Really flying through these tracks, they're so short.
Yeah, I know.
and the next one's even shorter. So they just keep
Jesus.
getting slightly shorter. This one is called I Need a Lot of Love. Funny, I've listened to this a bunch of times, but I've never made such strong Joe Jackson connections as I am tonight. Another one that's got Joe Jackson sound to it.
Is that a harmonica in there?
Harmonica, yeah.
Kind of buried in there. That's really interesting.
I wonder who played the harmonica. Yeah, I never noticed that harmonica before.
There's some cool little vocal things on these songs.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricate, quick little harmonies and things like that.
Yeah, nothing crazy, but stuff you don't always hear.
It's a 2.5-minute song. I think about 2 of those minutes are just, I need a lot of love.
I mean, at least he's saying what he wants.
That's right.
He's stating his intentions.
I think he wants and needs a lot of love. But yeah, that's a quick one, 2.5 minutes long. John, what do you think of I Need a Lot of Love?
I think it needs a lot of 3. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm building up here. I'm building up.
We're 4 songs in.
Yeah. So this one was it was another good one. You know what it really makes me think of is I feel like an album that tried to do the same thing as this, which maybe the guitar players came from a similar spot, was like I don't know, it was probably like it had to have been the 2000s, was CC DeVille had done, from Poison, had done a solo album. And it was like this, it was in the same vein as this type of music. I think it was like, trying to do a throwback to that kind of like kind of power pop with like a little bit of punk influence in there. Because that song reminded me of one, because I remember buying it because I thought like, oh, I like CC DeVille. I like CC DeVille. He's not that bad, but I mean, he's not that great either. But anyways, the album was different for him. It didn't sound anything like Poison, and it was more like, here's my solo project that shows my roots, man, type thing.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't bad, but I mean, it had like a lot of kind of stuff that sounded like this. So I feel like that kind of gave me a better idea of like what some other people were doing later when they were actually doing this at the time. But yeah, I think that like so far the choruses are what are like not really doing it for me, like in terms of like they're good, they're really like snappy, and they're kind of quick, and they're kind of quirky, but it's just like I don't know, I guess like maybe I don't know what the word is, like, I don't know, kind of goofy or whatever, like,
Yeah, yeah.
or not very, yeah, I guess quirky would be like a better word for it, not really like powerful or too melodic or something. Like you're finding most of that like in the verses and in like the melody of the song, and then they go like, I need a lot of love.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of like, it's fun, but it's and it keeps the song moving along. It's just like, yeah, I like, how I am about choruses, like a good big old chorus.
Yeah. I also give it a 3. I think it's one of those songs that's kind of a throwaway song. There's not a lot to it. It's not super creative or interesting, but they are bringing such a you can feel the excitement with how they're performing it. It doesn't sound like anybody's
Yeah.
phoning it in or that anybody's bored. Like they're giving it their all and they're putting a lot of passion behind it. I could see this song easily being a 2 if it was performed the wrong way. But yeah, I mean, everything on this album is like good solid playing and songs, and also it's described as being demos, so it's
Mm.
for demos pretty damn good.
Hmm.
But yeah, with that we go on to our next track. So I forgot to read he's got a few blurbs about some of these songs. I forgot to read the one about the first one, but this is one that has a video on YouTube. It's called So Used Up, and Joe Satriani says of this song, one of the more unusual and progressive Squares songs, with lyrics that are a bit darker than our usual upbeat message. I still find the guitar arrangement unique and intriguing, and it's one of my favorite songs to play. So here we go. This is the track. So Used Up. Slow start. This one sounds like a Joe Satriani solo song the way it starts and that effect.
Mm-hmm.
That guitar is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely more interesting. But he still keeps it kind of simple during the verses.
Mm-hmm. But it's got that Joe Satriani solo feel to it. Yeah, it does have a slightly darker and more haunting feeling to it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So not even like a guitar solo, more just like a weird cacophonous.
A bunch of noise.
Stuff that kind of, but it does kind of reach a crescendo, and it does have like the same tension that a guitar solo would build up, just with all this different people chattering and talking and noises and some guitar. An abrupt ending. It's worth noting that I did skip over a song, so we'll go back and do that song after we rank this one. I messed
Oh, you
that up.
did?
Yeah, I skipped over the song before this one, so we'll just go back and do it. It's a compilation anyway. Hey, first time that's ever happened that I can remember in 159 episodes. So a landmark. All right, so used up. John, what do you think about this one?
I'm gonna use up a 4 on this one.
Oh, it's all used. You can't give out any more 4s. It's all used up.
Nope, it's all used up. Everything else is no, I don't know. Um, just
I'm
not
looking
hitting
back
it
at
today.
the last album we rated right above this one. There's a 0 on there. So
Yeah, that one's all used up.
yeah,
I don't know. The last time was I gave a 0, like never, I don't think.
that was the only time you've been 100 at that point 157 episodes. But I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna call it. I don't think there's gonna be any zeros on this album.
No. But this one was really good for like as soon as you were just like, yeah, this one was really when you read the thing about it being more different, dark, a guitar line that he thinks is interesting. It's definitely all that. I really liked it. It reminded me like of, I know I mentioned Hughes Thrall before, but it kind of reminded me of like that same energy of like I Got Your Number, which was the opening track on Hughes Thrall. I could even like picture like Glenn Hughes singing this. Just because of the nature of the, a little bit more like, I mean, you had Pat Thrall who was doing like, some cool guitar stuff along these lines, and like the production was very similar. It came out around the same time. So, it has a lot of cool qualities to it. And it's like, it's nice to hear like a band like this have these like upbeat songs, and they have that one kind of darkish song in there. So
Yeah.
like
I'm
it.
glad you brought up the Hughes Thrall connection because that's one I forgot to mention. But yeah, it kind of fits in neatly with that. That these were the same year that this stuff was being recorded. So, all used up. You can just.
It was good. I mean, these guys like arguably had better haircuts than the other guys at the time. So, from what I've seen so far, like the Hughes made some very interesting hair choices after the 70s.
Yeah, the 80s were not really his strongest
friend
point for anything.
They were not his friend.
Hairdo, health, anything. But yes, I agree. I will also, so far we're 100% locked in. I will also give this one a 4. I love this track. There's one track on this album, and I don't know what it's called. I don't remember what it's called, but that I may rank higher than this, but I'm not sure. But it's a good one. Anyway, so that was I'm gonna go. So we're gonna rewind, and the track that got skipped was the 5th track. Unbelievable. I know John's shaking his head over there. Unbelievable. This guy's screwing it up.
Unbelievable.
This one's called Can't Take It Anymore. John can't take it anymore that I messed this up. Here we go.
I can't. Kind of a blues thing.
Almost 4 minutes. Oof.
Wow, this one's long.
That's the epic on the album.
The epic.
I love that little guitar thing. It's so simple, but that's a really love that chorus. The verse is a little pedestrian. Yeah, so the verse and the pre-chorus are a little more simple, as well as this bridge here.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love that chorus. Well, Joe Satriani, again, very restrained.
Mm-hmm. For him, yeah.
So yeah, at this point, according to my calculations, he would have been playing guitar for about 12 years.
Oh, okay. Well, that seen some kids now on like
Who aren't
online that
even
like
12.
yeah, that have been playing for like half this time and they're already blowing people away.
All right, Can't Take It Anymore. So far, the longest song on the album. John, what do you think of that one?
You know what? I'm going to give it a 2.5. Almost kind of a throwaway,
Mm-hmm.
I think, just because of the lazy blues.
Yep. Nobody's
I
immune
mean,
from the Lazy Blues song.
I mean, there were a couple of good like little things in there, like you were talking about the you know kind of the guitar part that he did in the chorus, a little bit of echo in there where he hit the note and it kind of delayed. He always does a couple of cool things like that, but it was just it was kind of like slow, little sluggish, you know, not too interesting, I didn't think.
Yeah, man, we are 1 for 1 here. I'm giving it 2.5 as well. I don't really care for the verse and the pre-chorus or the bridge, but I love the chorus. I love the guitar effect, the harmonies. I think it's great. I think if they had stuck that into a different song that had a more interesting verse that wasn't just a Lazy Blues song, it would be better. What happened? You look like you're
No, I just heard some weird noises.
look like you heard somebody crawling around in your ear vents or something.
That's literally what it sounded like.
Okay, next track up is called You Can Light the Way. Haunting.
There you go, telling all your friends that you're on the edge again.
A little departure here.
Don't you know you're the only one on whom you should depend? You can light the way.
I was like, I don't remember the song, but now I do.
You can light the
I remember this part. I don't remember that weird intro.
Don't give light the way.
It's a part of the 80s movies where you see the star-crossed lovers in like two different parts of town like rushing to get to the same place so they could like defy the odds and be like, I love you.
I was seeing it as they were in two different parts of town, but they were both like thinking about each other, but they were like, well, we're done. Oh yeah, well if we're done, then screw you. All right, bye. And then but now they're at home thinking about each other.
Or
It
like
could work on many levels.
she's buying a bus ticket, and he's like racing there to get there to stop her before she gets on and drives off
There's
forever.
a big suitcase.
Or running through the airplane terminal. Back when you could, like, you know, buy a ticket and get on at the last minute.
Yeah. Like, where are you going? I don't know. Away from here.
Solid plan, idiot.
You get out the way. You get out the way. Don't give life away.
And he's already doing a lot of really cool effects and things with his guitar, but you can tell the budget wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
But someone of his caliber playing was able to work around it and come up with some really cool sounds. This one also has a video on YouTube. And Satriani says of this song, this is a great example of the band wanting to stretch and write a more meaningful songs. I love John Cunaberti's production. The backwards reverb on the acoustic guitar is awesome.
Okay.
You can light the way, John. Light the way to our ratings.
I'm gonna light it with a 3.
All right.
I thought it was good, but I mean, I can start to see where a lot of the songs are sounding the same. But that being said, is that it sounds like like you were saying, like a cohesive collection of songs. So like it's part of an album. But I can like, I'm starting to hear more of like, okay, I can see how this is a demo and right now, and it's good. Like the song's definitely got some good stuff in there, but it's you know, didn't really grab me like all the other ones did. But yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, for sure. With a little bit of tweaking on some of the songs and, you know, losing maybe a couple and taking some parts from others, I think you could definitely have an awesome album in here. But I will also give that a 3. Man, I don't think we've ever made it this far without any variance. This is a 0 variance so far.
Wow.
I don't think we've ever ranked a song 100% the same on every single song. So,
well, we'll see. We still got some left.
Anything could happen. But yeah, I like the overall feel of the song. And like it said, it sounds of the time, and it sounds like it could have been a hit at the time. Like it sounds like something you could easily have heard on the radio just as easily as you heard any other like Duran Duran song or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next song is Tonight. Another short one too.
Oh yeah. It kind of sounds like a Weird Al song. That's what he makes me think of. He's got those Weird Al vocals.
Yeah, you're right.
Which isn't a bad thing, because Weird Al's not a bad singer.
No, we love Weird Al.
inside. Outside, don't mistake it. Let's just make it tonight. Tonight, it's gonna be alright. Tonight, it's gonna be alright.
Probably the most extended
Yeah.
show of Joe's guitar playing so far.
No more staying inside. Outside, don't mistake it. Let's just make it tonight. Tonight, it's gonna be alright. Tonight, it's gonna be alright.
It's one of, it's like, reminds me of like the early Beatles songs. 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Melodies quick in and out of the verses and choruses. Obviously, slightly different feel, but tonight. Well, John, tonight, what are you going to rank tonight?
Oh, that was a great Weird Al outtake. I'm going to give this one a 3 as well. At this point, the songs are kind of sounding the same or similar. The one thing that like I think was interesting. I'm not going to fault it for being not as good as it could have been, but you can tell that Satriani's guitar solo was like not produced very well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could tell that he was playing like really well, but it wasn't like a great produced solo. Like it didn't sound like he was struggling. It just sounds like it wasn't recorded that great. Because I mean, I recognize that kind of like that feel and that sound of like when something's a demo, or maybe he was doing a rough take or something like that. But still, it was nice to hear some of those kind of odd chord choices in there, thrown in like a little, kind of subtle. And then like him, like you said, doing that his first extended solo. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, I will give it a 3.5.
Oh, the variance
varying.
has ended.
Begun.
The variance has begun.
And not just to vary, but I think it's really catchy and upbeat. And again, I think one of the things they really knew how to do in this band was not belabor the point. There's so many songs we've covered on the show where we're like, oh my God, enough. Like this is, if you turn this song into a 5-minute song, it was like, okay, like there's not much, we get it. Like, and they get in and out 2.5 minutes, get their point across, deliver a guitar solo. Yeah, I can see what you're saying about the production. It sounds like the guitar was not sitting on top of the mix the way it probably should for a guitar solo. It just kind of sounded like it sounded a little bit lost, a little muddy. But hey, if your guitar solo is getting a little lost, don't let it get you down, or never let it get you down. Especially with our next track, Never Let It Get You Down. This one's almost 5 minutes long.
All right, this is the true epic.
True epic of the album.
Somebody went and broke your heart.
Oh boy.
Somebody's left you at the
Oh, this is going to be a long 5 minutes.
Wow. Matula's decision is in early on this one. of
This makes me think of an Ozzy song.
Tonight.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Funny because
yeah.
I was just thinking of Tonight earlier because of the song Tonight, and now I hear this and I'm like, that whole lead up to the chorus or after the chorus sounds like Tonight.
Because I'm thinking I could picture Ozzy singing this.
Yep. He practically did. This would have been recorded right around the same time. I wonder if it was inspired by it.
But this card could be like, goodbye to romance. So it's kind of a combo of like the two Ozzy ballads from around this time.
Nice.
Love's easy if you don't get burned. Love's easy when you finally learn. Love's something you can rise above. So don't let love, no, don't let love.
No, I wonder if they're gonna modulate up on the vocals. That's the only trick they're missing so far.
Hey, we'll see. Well, actually, you would know because you've already heard this album. So
I don't remember. I don't keep track of what songs modulate up. I wouldn't be surprised.
Nate
though.
keeps track of all the modulations.
I have a little spreadsheet.
Nate's modulation spreadsheet.
If they did, it would be coming up soon, though, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe after the second guitar solo here.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is almost like very Randy Rhoads.
Yep. Oh, maybe we're just gonna end on a guitar solo, no modulation. Missed
Oh, well.
opportunity. It's actually much better that they don't do that.
Right, yeah.
I'm just expecting it. Yeah, it's gonna be more like Goodbye to Romance kind of right now, like that fade out on the lengthy solo. I wonder if he is like holding back or if he just wasn't really at that level yet as a player. But I mean, I know he was teaching some of the greats at this point. He must have been. So
Interesting. Yeah, but I mean,
I just can't imagine him holding back on every recording like that unless he was being, hey man, we're trying for radio play. Don't do anything crazy. I mean, he's playing very well. It sounds great.
well, I mean, I'm also thinking too, like, I mean, there's two things. First of all, is that this is a very specific band situation, so he could have been tailoring what he was doing to that.
Yep.
Or the second thing is like, even though he's Joe Satriani and we know what he's done, not all guitar teachers are good. That's all I'm saying. Because I've had some guitar teachers who are just like, you suck. Not that I'm
Best players,
great.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
you
mean-
don't have to be a great player to be a great teacher.
Right, but I mean, we obviously know Satriani is, so I'm thinking that maybe it was the former, that he knew what he was trying to achieve in this band, and so it might have been a little bit of he hadn't fully developed his style yet, but he also knew, well, I'm playing in this project, so it's not time to be
Yeah.
like an avant-garde shredder type of thing.
It could be that. I know I've seen a lot of interviews with Vi and Hammett, and probably just the two of them, but talking about how he was a real hard ass as a teacher. Like he was, like day one, he's like, hey, listen, man, like you're gonna do the work. If you don't do the work, you're out. I'm done with you. Like he like, or he'd like end us. He'd be like, you didn't practice this week. I think like Steve Vai tells a story about that. Like how much did you practice last week? He's like, oh, and he's like, you didn't practice, did you? He's like, don't waste my time, get out of here, or something. Like he was like really hard. I think, I mean, I can't say exactly, but I seem to remember hearing stories like that more than once. So I don't know, maybe it was just, I know they all speak very highly of him. They love him, and obviously they go on the G3 tour with him and all that stuff, but it didn't sound like he was any slouch and any
No.
easy guy to have as a teacher. So
I wouldn't like that's a guitar teacher type of thing. Like, I mean, I wouldn't want somebody to waste my time either, but I mean, it's like you feel like you're making your money either way, but at the same time, it was like
Yeah.
I had a guitar teacher who was like the first lesson, he's like, don't go cutting your guitar strings just so you can't practice. And I'm like, this guy, what is he talking about?
Cutting your guitars? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, oh, I couldn't practice because all my guitar strings broke.
Who the hell does that? Is this
Well,
a big
apparently
problem?
somebody that was a student of his, was like an excuse not to play. It was just like, oh, my guitar springs are all broken. So he's
I
like,
would have
don't you
practiced.
try. Like, yeah, it was some old
Why even
fart.
bother going to lessons if you're going to do that?
Because when you're a kid, your parents force you.
I mean, I feel like that's not as common with guitar though. Like maybe piano, but like with my parents
Don't
are
cut those
making-
piano strings, open up the bag and just get a big
Yeah, I'm sorry. I broke all the strings on my piano. I couldn't practice.
Yeah, the foot pedal is broke off somehow, so I couldn't couldn't hold those notes.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, there are a
okay,
few
so-
keys missing.
Yeah,
I
snap
couldn't
off.
practice. I'm missing middle C. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of an important one. All right. So, John, what do you rank Never Let It Get You Down?
I'm going to give this one a 3. Also, overall as a song, kind of long. But I'm not going to take off points for it being long or being like whether it was on purpose or not derivative of 2 Ozzy ballads. I actually liked it because of that.
Mhm.
And I thought the playing and the soloing was really good, especially like for Satriani. It sounded like something very not typical, kind of that emotional ballad solo. Not that he doesn't do that on his instrumental albums, but in this it sounded very, very Randy-ish. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that was intentional or if he had heard something or if he was just influenced by it and didn't realize it but I thought
very reminiscent of several, like Tonight, Goodbye to Romance.
and this was within the same couple of years that those albums were released, because this was 82 and that was 80, 81 and 82. So
Yeah.
but I mean I thought that made it interesting. I liked it, but it wasn't what I wouldn't say it would be a fan favorite, me being the fan.
I will give it a 4. I really like this one.
Oh, there we go. Variances continue.
I dug it, and I think I saw the similarities between those Ozzy ballads as a plus, not a minus. And I don't know, Randy Rhoads would have been a guitar teacher on the scene at the time. I don't know if they were both in the LA area or where Randy was. But I mean, I can, they had to have known of each other being on that scene at that time. So I don't know if it was intentional or not, or sometimes you're listening to somebody and you steal their style without even realizing it because it's just on your mind. It could have been intentional, unintentional, or completely unrelated, but I dug it. I dug it a lot. Which brings us to our 10th track on this makeshift album, and that one is called Follow That Heart.
Wipe out.
It's no use making
This whole part sounds like it was just lifted out of a Weird Al song.
Now you're making multiple Weird Al collections.
Why can't he say, follow that heart?
Follow that fart.
That would be Weird Al's.
It would have to be something food related.
Follow that Pop-Tart.
Eat up that, yeah, eat that Pop-Tart. Eat
That
that
Pop-Tart. Eat the Pop-Tart.
It's a weird effect because it sounds like all three of those are recorded on separate tracks. Whoa, whoa! Like, it doesn't sound like he's doing it on one
Eat the
continuous track.
Pop-Tart. Eat the Pop-Tart. Eat the Pop-Tart. It is catchy though.
Back into like the jungle toms. I think again the guitar's a little low in the mix.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fighting with the drums. Drums sound great, by the way.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that the one common denominator I'm cluing into on this is the enormous amount of repetitions in the chorus on such short songs.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I again was probably what they were going for the style of the day.
Right, but think about it. If they didn't have that much repetition, the songs would probably be like under 3 minutes.
We get another minute and 35-second song.
Really?
But it's amazing on such it's a short song. It's only verse chorus. Maybe there's a bridge and a guitar solo, and they're like doing the choruses to death. So it's it's a lot. But again, I don't think it's anything would have been anything out of the ordinary at the time for popular music. All right, what do you think of Follow That? Or what do you think of Eat That Pop-Tart?
Eat that Pop-Tart. Eat that Pop-Tart.
That was good. That was a good Weird Al.
I'll give it a 3. I like I said, at this point, like all the songs are sounding so similar. I can't even tell them apart now. But I think you made a good point. Is that everything being condensed into these really short songs is really is really cool. It's interesting. Like they're able to do the verses, choruses, bridge, a little solo, more repetitive chorus. Like they're packing a lot in there, and yeah, it's definitely, it's catchy. I mean, obviously the fact that we're singing it and having a good time with it, is indication that it is very very catchy and a lot of fun. So but that being said too, like I guess I'm like waiting for like some really cool Satriani stuff to happen. It's not like a one big moment,
The last song is just going to be every trick in the book.
right. But I mean, I'm getting what I think we realistically should be expecting is like early Satriani stuff with some cool sprinkles in there,
Yep. I agree. And I also agree on the 3. I agree on the 3. Follow That Heart gets
He agrees on the 3.
Follow that 3. Follow that 3. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. I mean, they're all good, solid pop tunes, new wave sounding kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I think it's this great little time capsule of what was going on at the time, and someone who hadn't quite reached his peak yet as a musician and producer and all that. Well, he hadn't even really released any albums yet. But yeah, it was more than just interesting when it came out. I thought it was a really interesting or very poppy and fun kind of album. And even when some of the stuff is maybe a little repetitive or maybe a little bit half baked, it still keeps that kind of fun vibe going. Which leads us to our last song, the final track on the album, I Love How You Love Me. Oh, in this one, you know what? I forgot to say, I don't know if there was anything about Follow Your Heart. There was not. I missed something about Never Let It Get You Down. But I Love How You Love Me. So this one is written by Barry Mann and Larry Kobler. Barry Mann is has like 3,000 entries on Discogs as a songwriter. He won 2 Grammys for the song Somewhere Out There. Remember that? You know that song, right? Song of the Year and Best Song Written for a Motion Picture. Somewhere out there. Ba, 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 ba. I don't know anything else about it. It wasn't from that movie like what, the mouse or something. Remember?
An American Tale.
An American Tale, thank you.
What was that movie? The Mouse? Yeah.
I didn't say the movie was called The Mouse. I
It
said it was a
sounded like
movie.
what was that movie? The Mouse? Like,
I really simplified it. Lost the clever pun in the title. No, I said it was a movie about a mouse.
yes, the American Tale, Fievel.
What was that movie? Dinosaur? You mean Jurassic Park? Yeah, that's the one. Fievel.
You know the one where the dinosaur kills Newman from Seinfeld? Oh yeah.
I should have called it that. And then his co-writer has several hundred credits on Discogs as well, Larry Kolber. So some heavy hitting songwriting on this one. So it's, I guess, a cover. So here you go. I Love How You Love Me.
I love how your eyes close.
This is different.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you kiss me. And when I'm away from you.
When I'm a wet mule.
I love how you miss me.
Oh, wait, away from me? I don't know what he said.
And I love the way you love the street.
There we go.
And then right back into it.
You knew it was gonna do this.
I love how you love me. I love how your heart beats whenever I hold you. I love how you think of me. But I
He's doing some cool rhythm stuff here.
love the way you touch yourself heavenly. But darling,
Little dive bomb.
Yeah.
See, he's throwing all the tricks in.
Now he's tapping. Maybe he wasn't tapping, maybe. Joe Satriani said they used this as their encore for the live shows.
Yeah, it definitely has that encore energy.
Damn. So this single was written for the Paris Sisters in 1961.
I love how you love me.
Now, was this recorded before?
It was recorded in 1961.
So it's a cover.
Yeah. Cover of the Paris Sisters song.
Hmm. Yeah, this is very Satriani. Now you can tell.
Oh,
Whoa,
abrupt ending there.
abrupt.
Yes. So that is I Love How You Love Me by not the Paris Sisters, but by Squares. John, what do you think of that one?
I think that was a great ending song. I'll give it a 4.
All right.
Yeah, I like I think it's funny how you like, maybe I don't know if you forgot or if you were just like, if you knew. I feel like you forgot, where you're like, what if he brings out all the tricks in the last song? And he kind of did.
Oh yeah, I totally did not remember this song at all.
Yeah, he kind of did. But I mean, I like the energy. I like the singing too.
Yeah.
I like the vocals too, as well as like the guitar work, which still, sounded lacking, mostly the production.
Mhm.
Not the playing. Like, I'm sure that if he had like, better equipment, better production, it would have been like more pulled together. But I like it for that reason, as it fits in with the whole, vibe of these songs. And I'm surprised that, like, when these these songs took off, they didn't do that kind of Ramones, like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
the count off 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I
Just like,
expected that when it kicked in at the beginning part.
but maybe a little on the nose. But yeah, there were a lot of things that I liked in here. When you mentioned that it was like an encore song, it's like immediately got into my head of like, yeah, I could picture this being at the end of the set and everybody's like, yeah, more, and then this keeps everybody hyped up, like going out on the high note.
And it teases them a little first with those little volume swells and, oh, what are they doing? Some weird sort of thing. And then it kicks into
Yeah.
that really up tempo version, which would have been like, this was kind of like in that time period where I think like the mid 80s is that particular idea of, hey, let's take an old song from what, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, which seemed like ancient at that point. Let's take a song from the early 60s that was like a 60s hit that was sung by like female singers, and we'll turn it into this like upbeat punk rock sort of thing. And haha, won't that be funny? Like Megadeth,
Right.
with these boots are made for walking. And I mean, there's so many different examples of that, doing that
Yeah.
thing, and people don't really do that as, I mean, I guess people there's always a lot of bands that have to do that kind of smarmy take on like, haha, isn't it ironic that we're doing this song? Let's
Oh yeah, there's one now that I've heard a couple of them, which has been really weird. There's like some kind of weird version of who did that song "Man on the Moon," REM.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, and there's like some kind of like weird dancey version of it, and it's like, how long ago was that? Like 30 years.
Yeah.
And I remember when it came out.
Yeah, people do that a lot, and they just completely change the feel of a song. Sometimes it's done really cool, and sometimes it's done just like people just joking around. But I mean, it's a good idea. And you make something your own. Joe Satriani says of the song, that was our encore song. It was lead vocalist Andy Milton's idea to do this song. He sang it straight while Jeff and I rocked out as fast and hard. So yeah, you can hear he's pulling out all the stops, and
I liked it
on this one. I will also give this one a 4 because I think it's fun. It's a good time, good upbeat. And before we move on, before traveling on, we should listen to the original. Let's take a listen.
I love how your eyes close whenever you kiss me, and when I'm away from you, I love how you miss me. I love the way you always
obviously stuck really true to the melody.
Yeah.
But
this one's only 2 minutes long.
I love how you love me.
I'm sure there are no shred guitar solos in this.
Well, don't be so sure.
How your heart
You never know with the Paris sisters. They might really
Whenever I hold
bring in a little strings there.
I love how you think of me without being told.
Great song, great melody.
I love the way your touch is always heavenly. But darling, most of all, I love how you love me.
So anyway, that is the Paris sisters. No shred guitar solo. Just going to go into an orchestrated sort of solo after that.
Orchestra solo.
Can't see John conducting. Okay, so there you have it with the tracks and the ratings. And as John puts on his little green visor and tabulates up the results, I will go through our patrons, and that is of course our foundation level. I'm sorry, patrons. Bringing it in at the end of the show at the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, we have Raf Calf. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardot, Ian DeRosier, Mark Roback, Duncan Leask, Stuart McCord, Flight of the Rat Bat Blue Light, Ivan Fieldboo.
It's a great life if you know we can. It's a
Runar Simonson,
great life if you know we can. It's a
and of course, heyo, our newest patron. Oh no, wait,
Hello.
I'm sorry. That's John. He already moved up. So John Kynes, thank you for moving up. I'll delete you from that tier now. And at the $1 made up name tier, we have the Right Angled Gravesite, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Spike the Rock Cat, JJ Stannard, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel, Sugar Tits, and Blackmore's Tights. Thank you to all of them, never failing to get a laugh out of John. And that's,
Oh, sugar tits.
and I'm sure Sugar Tits thinks that is $1 well spent
Mm, it is to make me laugh.
to get Nate to say that every week. All right. Well, thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. We couldn't do it without you. John, where does Squares stack up in the album rankings?
The album ranking is a 6.68 with only a 0.14 variance, which we could have guessed because we only
Close.
differed on a couple of songs.
Although we've had a
You,
lot of closer albums on in aggregate, but I don't think we've ever had so many songs we agreed on 100%.
Yeah. So this is this album as a whole is a little toward the bottom of the barrel of albums overall. But that doesn't that doesn't mean anything really. So it's a little bit below Wild Thing by Fancy, and a little bit above Slaves and Masters by actual Deep Purple.
Some people would probably agree with that, and some people would probably be angry about that.
Okay, but before everybody gets their panties in a twist, it's like 0.01 above that. So
Yeah.
let's all calm down.
Yeah, it's a very tight margin here, but still, I think there are some people who would think it's sacrilege that it could even be considered in the same breath as a proper Deep Purple album. But there's some people probably saying, Slaves and Masters should be way below it. It's a very divisive album that way.
It should be near Warhorse.
Well,
Really, anything. The only thing that's near Warhorse is Warhorse, and
it's the other Warhorse album.
and it deserves to be right down there. Bye, bye, bitch.
The jumps between albums are very sharp at that low level, and then it gets a little closer. Warhorse. All right, there you have it. That is Squares. And before we wrap up, I do have a few reviews. So these are all, like, obviously you can tell by just looking at them, all marketing put out by the label to promote this album. But basically Joe Satriani got a bunch of his buddies to comment on the album and if I can find the screen here, to comment on the album and made some little graphics about them. So why is it not showing up? Here it is. So here we go. Steve Vai says, Joe's guitar playing on these tracks is perfectly arranged, raw and visceral, with impeccable intonation and tone, exquisite phrasing and fierce chops, all with no whammy bar or wah-wah. This record is a jewel for all Satch lovers and a peek into the past of one of our beloved guitar geniuses. Steve Vai, high praise about the album from Steve Vai. Who's next? Paul Gilbert. The melodic vocals and well-written songs here make it worth a trip back to this era. Super tight rhythms and killer solos abound. Paul Gilbert adjusting his shades there. Is he at like a Gibson SG in that photo? Usually doesn't he play that like, oh, it might not be. It's hard to tell because it's all black and white, but I think he usually has that crazy guitar with that like top thing. I think that's what it is, but it sort of looks like an SG because you can't really see the guitar blends into him. Sammy Hagar says, unbelievable. I swear to God, I think this is great. This could come out today. He's like, I swear to God. It's like, now I think you're lying. Like, why would you say that? I swear to God. I swear to God, I really like this. Of course, that's his brother from Chickenfoot. So saying some good things about his buddy. John Petrucci from Dream Theater. Wow, this is way too cool. I feel like I'm getting a glimpse into Joe's past with these Squares demos, and the songs are really taking me back to the music scene of the early 80s. It's really great to hear all the Satchisms and insane guitar solos infused into these pop punk tunes. Joe has such a unique voice on the instrument, and his tone is undeniable no matter who he's playing with.
I feel like that's the most honest and accurate review.
Yeah. That's pretty
Except
good.
when they're talking about like insane guitar solos, and they're good.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, even for the time they weren't like, I mean, they're very good. I mean, it's obviously awesome. But,
Yeah, and they're not gonna. He's got them like saying, like trying to promote the album. It's gonna be, yeah, Joe's solos are mediocre at best. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like John Petrucci, and he says this, and he goes off and plays 256 notes. I mean, that guy's like insane. Especially that I love that video of John Petrucci where he looks like you. He looks like in 2004, John Petrucci and John Mottola looked almost identical. We should have like a side by side of the two of them. Like when you had your really short hair, he had his really short hair. He had the goatee, like just like you used to have. Like, although probably not in 2004, you didn't, but yeah, it's like.
But in the late '90s, I believe I did.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like there's one in particular live Dream Theater thing that I watch quite frequently that I'm like, it's John on stage and not John Petrucci.
Maybe it's me in another life. I don't know.
It could be. Next up, we have Phil Collen from Def Leppard. It's great listening to great musicians and figuring out what their roots were and where it led them. Whether it's Jeff Beck and the Yardbirds or George Benson playing on Miles Davis or Sinatra records, you get a little glimpse of where these musical giants can potentially and ultimately go given the right circumstances. Here's Joe Satriani's 1980 release with the Squares, and you can definitely hear that there's something special going on with the guitar player. Even though the band has a new wave power pop flavor, you can hear the solos sound like a young Joe Satriani. And then finally, Neil Giraldo. Thanks, Joe, for sharing a look back into your musical beginnings. I'm sure I speak for all of us steel benders that we wouldn't have expected anything but greatness from you. There you go. From his friends. Of course, I mean, you're not going to get any guitar shred royalty say a bad word about Joe Satriani, and if they did, they wouldn't post it on their website as marketing. But it's just kind of interesting hearing those guys, because those are all, you know,
it'd be like, meh, Steve Vai.
like, yeah, who are they missing here? They didn't put I'm trying to think of the G3 guys. Yngwie, this didn't do anything for me. To be honest,
that
this
would be
kind
the
of
last
blows.
person.
Yngwie.
It'd be like the last person you'd go to say anything nice about anybody.
Yngwie would be like, sorry, I never got around to listening to the album. I was too busy listening to Paganini.
Good, but not as good as a young me, Ingve.
A young me. All right, folks. Well, that's it. And then I think the other thing is like I think one of it, Phil Collins said the Squares, but I guess the band was kind of sometimes called the Squares, and they eventually shortened it to Squares. So I think I'll put a link in the show notes. It's a link to they have kind of like an official site on Satriani's website where they kind of talks a little bit about the history of Squares. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's the album. So yeah, Joe leaves this and goes to do his solo career. And yeah, we one of the questions we got asked for our interview show that we didn't get to was someone had asked like, hey, are you going to do, like, remember in the early episodes we did before they were Purple, and we did Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale and Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. We did all that. But somebody asked, hey, how come you didn't do one on Joe Lynn Turner? And kind of the idea, I think, was years ago we would do one on everybody before they joined Deep Purple. But then when we got to this, we got to the point where we're like, well, Joe Lynn Turner's in Rainbow, and we cover all these Rainbow albums, so we're not going to do it before he was Purple because we kind of have already done that. So we're not going to really do that with Satriani either. Maybe up next we'll start hitting his solo albums. Do what's it called? Why can I never remember? Not of This Earth. Start getting into the solo albums because that's how I always that's how I got into him, was Not of This Earth, Surfing with the Alien, and Flying in a Blue Dream. In particular, those were the three albums by him that I had. And then I don't think I got too much more from him after that, but those I gave a lot of listens to all of that stuff.
Me too.
So yeah, looking forward to that one. But yeah, that's it. That's Squares. Let us know what you think on social media. Check out show notes, deeppurplepodcast.com. Where all fine show notes are assembled. And let us know what you think of Squares. Had you heard it before? Is this your first listen? What do you think of some early Joe Satriani? And until next week, John, we'll see you later.
Peace out.
Never give it up, or never give up, or whatever the name.
Never give up. Peace out. Never give up.
Don't let anyone make you afraid. All right. Later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.